Welcome to the ClinicSource Custom Template tutorial. Today we will provide you with an overview of the template area, create new components, as well as demonstrate how to create a new form and use it. I am currently set up as a speech provider, and what we will see will be speech related, but the actions are the same for all disciplines. I'm going to go ahead and log into our training environment, and we're going to be focusing our time in setup and templates. The area is really made up of two tabs. You have template forms and you have template components. By definition of what a template form is a document that contains one or more components. So in order to make a form in ClinicSource, you have to combine either one component to itself or multiple components. Template components, on the flip side, are the individual sections that constitute a form. So these would be all your various assessments, observations, historical information, etc. And as you can see, it's all mixed up by category, discipline, and entity. On the left-hand side of the template area is, I like to refer to, our navigational area. So if I only wanted to see things pertaining to the evaluation, possibly specifically speech therapy, and maybe just the assessments available to speech therapy, you'll see that the main window now displays the category of assessments only available to speech for the entity evaluation. We do have 4 entities of which you can create custom documents under, and they are notated off to the left. You have patient, evaluation, care plan, and your progress note or SOAP note. The far right hand side of the screen, you'll see written horizontally and vertically there, template catalog. So when you do click on the template catalog area, you'll see it'll open up. And if you see items in here, you can go ahead and download them all. And that's going to be the recommendation. So in the header of the catalog, you'll see to the far right, there's a button here that says download all. Please remember to download all forms as well as components. Let's go into creating our own components. What I'm going to do is open up the evaluation form for speech just to give you an idea of what our basic speech therapy template looks like. So off to the left, I can filter it by just clicking evaluation, speech therapy, and clicking on template forms in the main window. You'll see the speech therapy evaluation is there. And when I do access it or open it, you'll see it's just a basic header and a couple narrative components: significant history, medical history, medications, other, and diagnosis and impressions. Let's say I'm trying to mimic something that I have in a Word document or PDF. Maybe I want a narrative section called reason for referral, and I'd like to incorporate it into ClinicSource. The easiest way to do that is as follows. Okay, I'm just going to exit the evaluation. Those narrative sections that I was kind of just pointing out, I know fall under the category of history. So if I go into the template components in the main window, I can leave it for evaluation, speech off to the left, and then the final category, I'm going to come down and select history. In the history section, you'll see that I have my significant history, other therapies, other history, medications, medical history, etc. But I don't have reason for referral. All right, let's create it together. I'm going to click on any of these components. I like to use significant history, but it doesn't really matter which one you use. When you do click on it and open it, you'll see that it's the significant history section in this case. Up at the top, I'd like to draw your attention to where it says catalog number. The fact that we see a catalog number here, this one happens to be number 7, means it's the original component. Could you adjust the original? Absolutely. But for the purpose of this demonstration, we're going to actually make a copy of this and rename it. So at the top in the icon tray, top left to the left of the printer, you'll see there's a copy button, 2 pieces of paper. You'll notice when I do click copy, the screen will flash relatively quickly. Everything remained the same, but the catalog number disappeared. So now you can be rest assured that you are looking at a copy of the original, and any changes you make will not impact the original. I can rename this at the top. Instead of significant history, I'm going to call this reason for referral. And down below, I can backspace over significant history and call it reason for referral. Once I've renamed it, save in the upper left-hand corner, blue disk, and you'll see when I do save it, reason for referral is an option for me to choose. And that option is now usable. So I could go back into my therapy form, click on my speech therapy evaluation, off to the left, scroll down to the components, and in the history section, you'll see I have a new one there, reason for referral. It's not checked off. And all I gotta do is simply check it off to add it or incorporate it into my document. And you'll see it does add underneath the header there, reason for referral. And I can put it wherever I'd like to by dragging it in place. So let's say I want to have reason for referral underneath medical history. I can just click and drag and move it and place it where I'd like to have it. That's something a little basic, creating a new narrative. Let's go one step further and talk about making a chart. Okay. I'm going to go back into my components, leave it for evaluation speech, but assign assessments. Most of your charts and tests are in the assessment category. And the one I like to use as a foundation is the OWLs. So I'm going to scroll down to the OWLs, open it up. You'll see that it's the original. It has a catalog number 22 at the top. The reason I like the OWLs, basic chart, couple rows, couple columns. So let's go ahead and use it. So to use it, I'm going to make a copy at the top, copy button. Everything stayed the same. Catalog number 22 disappeared. I'm going to rename this, call it my test. Down below, I'm going to rename the chart, just backspace over the OWLs, and just simply rename it to my test. Let's say I would like to add additional columns, additional rows, whatever it may be. It's kind of like Excel. There's a front-end user interface where you can select the various buttons to add, your actions that you'd like to do. So let's say I want to put a column before and after oral expression. If I put my cursor next to the word oral, it could be anywhere in that header, doesn't matter. There's a button in the top here where I can insert a column to the right of the cursor. And I can go ahead and do the same to the left of the cursor, and you'll see to the right and left of oral expression, a new column appears. I can do the same thing with rows, even delete the current row the cursor's in, or delete the current row or column that the cursor is also in. Down below, let's say I want to put a new heading in the first column. I'm going to keep it really simple. I'll start yes and /no. Maybe I want to have a yes/no kind of response to the categories here off to the left. You'll notice when I typed in my header, the font is not the same. So in order to match our font, if you'd like to do that, you can click into any one of the headings, like listening comprehension as an example, and you can see the font. It's Arial 2, 12 pixels with a classification that we call test head. So if I were to highlight over the yes/no, I could make it Arial 2. Oops, it says 13, so let me change that to say 12. And then where it says apply CSS class, I'm going to drop down and choose test head. Okay. It's semi-alphabetical here. And when I do that, you'll see the font is now the same. Let's say in the tracking the data in the column below, I want to do simple checkboxes. I could put my cursor where I'd like to have the checkbox appear, just above the column and to the left a little bit. You'll see there's an option to insert a checkbox. When I do that, I can go ahead and type my yes or Y for yes, do another checkbox, type an N for no, and I can literally just make a column of checkboxes if that's what I want to build. Okay. Let's get a little more advanced. So in the column to the right of oral expression, maybe I'd like to record min, mod, and max assistance levels. Now here, I'm not going to put checkboxes. It'd probably be a little bit wide for the column anyway. But let's do a drop-down box where we can drop down and choose what we'd like to have as an option. To do a drop-down box, it's actually called Insert Select in ClinicSource. Simply put your cursor where you'd like to have the box appear in your chart. And at the top to the right of the checkbox, where it says Insert Checkbox, you'll see there's an option that says Insert Select. When I do that, a little window is going to open asking me to add or remove the various options. Think of option as the word choice. What would I like to choose? When I do click the plus key, you'll notice the text and value areas both came up with option 1, value 1. It won't always be starting off with number 1, so please keep that in mind. But the first one you see, double click the text area, delete. Double click the value area, delete. So you're going to leave it blank. Select the plus key again, and you will see the second one in the series. Okay. Once you see the second one, go ahead and type in your choices or options. So the first one I'm going to do is min, plus key, mod, and you can certainly spell out the words, plus key, max. Now there's no need to empty the input areas, text and value. Once you see the final choice that you want in the column to the left, you are complete. Simply click the OK button once complete, and you'll see the drop-down box appear. And those choices you entered will also be available to you, min, mod, and max. You'll notice that it is blank by default, and it's blank because we deleted the first entry where it said option 1. Now I'm going to give you an example of what happens if you don't delete the first entry. So I'm going to come down a couple rows, do a new insert select box, click the plus key. The first one says option 5, value 5. Technically I should be deleting this. It's the first one I see, but I'm not going to delete it. I'm just going to type in min over it, click OK, and you'll see it says min by default. Okay, so that's the reason we tell you to delete the first option. It looks cleaner. It also prompts you to make a selection. Let's say as part of this chart that I'm building, I want to have a place to insert my interpretation of the data, maybe a little narrative. Off to the right-hand side of the chart, you see I can click in the white area, put my left click there, and my mouse, the cursor is flashing to the right-hand side of that chart. Once it's there, select the inner button, much like a Word document. You'll see the cursor drops underneath the chart. And the narrative area is AB over the CD icon, just to the right of the Insert Select button. When you do click that option, a little rectangle will appear underneath the chart. The rectangle has special properties. The bottom right-hand corner has 45-degree angle lines that you can put your cursor over, and you'll see the cursor makes a 45-degree angle cursor. Left click and drag. Always drag your narrative or interpretation box to the right-hand margin. The right-hand margin is the two vertical gray lines that you'll see faintly off to the right-hand side. Okay, and that's so as you type your narrative or your interpretation below, your narrative goes across your page like when you print it. Okay, so never line up the narrative to the edge of the chart. Always drag your narrative to the margin. And you could always, click outside of the box, give it a name if you'd like to. Results, interpretation, narrative, whatever you'd like to do. Again, you can highlight it, match the font, Arial 212. And if you don't want it to be bold, that's fine, just so it looks a little different from your assessment, or you could certainly apply the CSS class that you'd like. Once your chart is complete, simply save it in the upper left-hand side, blue disk. And you'll notice when I saved it as my test there. And in my listing of assessments, if I scroll down alphabetically, my test will be in the assessments, about 3/4 of the way down to 2/3. Again, to incorporate it into my document, I can go to my form. I can click on speech therapy evaluation. And off to the left under the assessment category, you will see my test is there, alphabetical. I can check it off to incorporate it into this layout. Okay. And I can drag it into place where I'd like to have it. Okay. Once my layout is complete, save it. Okay. Speech therapy evaluation. Now, if I were to go to documentation, because I modified that form, I can select my patient, do a new evaluation. My speech therapy evaluation is there at the top as my choice. If I insert that document, you'll see that, when it opens, by default, my layout contains the reason for referral, as well as if I scroll down a little bit, my test. It's there. Okay. So effectively, we just modified the form to contain the sections that I'd like to contain, as well as maybe put those sections in the order that I would like to have them. Now for the final demonstration, let's create a new form. Okay. So I'm going to go back into Setup and Templates. Now forms are fairly straightforward. Off to the left-hand side, I can do evaluation, speech, all categories. It really doesn't matter. And then for speech, we give two forms. We give like speech therapy evaluation as well as feeding evaluation. Let's say I want to do a speech evaluation for a certain age demographic, okay, like a layout. Simply click on the document at hand. Okay. Up at the top, click the copy button. It's the easiest way to do it. Now, when you copy a form, there's no catalog number that disappears. So next to the name, if I take my mouse and drag it over to the right, you'll see there's a hyphen copy there. So that's what we do with forms. We put a hyphen copy extension next to the name of the document to let you know it is a copy. I could rename this. And let's say I want to call this age, 5 to 9 evaluation, right? Age 5 to 9. And down below, I can add in the components that would be necessary for that age demographic. So maybe I want to have the Castle 7 to 21. Maybe I want to do the Self 4 or the Self 5. Okay, I'm going to keep coming down. Maybe the assessment I want to have is a GFTA 3, whatever it may be. And as I'm adding those assessments, they are adding to my form below. Okay. And again, I could certainly put them in the order that I'd like to have them just by clicking on the component and dragging it on the screen, placing it where I'd like to have it. And when I'm done adding my necessary components or organizing the data, maybe I want for that adolescent to have reason for referral underneath the header. I can certainly organize things on my screen. Save it when you're done. Just simply click the blue disk and save it. And you'll notice in your forms, not only do you have a speech therapy evaluation and a feeding evaluation, but now you have an age 5 to 9 evaluation. To use it, you would go to documentation, click on the name of the patient, top left, new evaluation. But when the screen opens for the new evaluation, remember at the top you have templates. And templates is a choice. So you can drop down and choose the one you'd like to use. So if I wanted to use the age 5 to 9 eval today, I can select it and insert that form. Okay. When it opens, it's going to open the way I saved it. Reason for referrals at the top. Scroll down, I have my various assessments that pertain to the age 5 to 9 category. And my document is already, predetermined for me. Okay. Now, everything that I've talked about today has been strictly focused around the evaluation, but keep in mind in setup and templates, the same actions that we were doing in components and forms under the evaluation entity can also be done under the patient entity, care plan entity, and progress note entity. This concludes our demonstration today of our custom template tutorial. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out and we'll be happy to assist at support@clinicsource.com. Thank you so much.